But the rest is, you don't need any shoring, you don't need any heavy girders, usually also no temporary props are required. This depends, of course, of the pre-stressing steel, but usually beginning with around 200, 250, 300 meters, incremental launching would be the most economical one. For free cantilevering, usually, as you have seen on the photos, where do you use free cantilever? Over fjords, rivers, but this method is limited up to a length to maximum 300 meters. The longest span for free cantilevering is in Norway with 302 or 307 meters. But here in Oman, we have this project, Bit Bit Sur, where I think there are 4 or 5 bridges done or concepted with free cantilevering method. So this is because of going to mountains, overcoming valleys, no chance to support it with ordinary scaffolding. These are so the criteria.
Thanks very much indeed for that. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen? Sorry, gentlemen. Okay, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Now back to road safety. It's my pleasure to introduce Trevor Hall, who is going to talk to us about enforcement technology. Trevor is originally a policeman with something like 30-odd years experience, and for the last 20-something years, I think, Trevor, maybe longer, you've actually been advising the UK government, the UK police, and now the American government, Australian, etc., on enforcement technology. So, Trevor, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, I think, gentlemen. I'm going to talk, as Tony said, about road safety and the use of enforcement technology and the ways to make enforcement technology work. I come from the United Kingdom, and I've been at the heart of the road safety programme in the United Kingdom for the last 30 years. We've seen very large advances in reductions in casualties, and that's primarily been through the use of technology. A little bit about myself. I'm a former police officer in the UK. I actually served 31 years, but since I retired in 2006, I've been working integrated with the British Police, providing support to everything the British Police does in terms of road safety. And I work with the United Kingdom government on achieving casualty reduction, and particularly through the use of technology. And I coordinate all the activities for the police forces in the UK. I also manage the approval process for enforcement technology. We value highly accredited technologies in the United Kingdom to make sure that any evidence is gained is robust and can be used in court cases. And I recently have been working as a specialist advisor to the American National Highway Safety Committee, and I'm helping the Americans with road safety and also their approvals in use of technology. I'm working with the Australian government in Victoria, and the police, and I'm working with Hong Kong police, and I work with a variety of different police forces throughout the world. I also sit on the United Nations Road Safety Collaboration Committee, and I'm working with Mayor Bloomberg out of New York on a project to provide road safety in developing countries, and currently training police in Russia and Turkey. So that gives you a broad experience of what I do. I run an organisation called Road Safety Support, not-for-profit organisation in the United Kingdom. I have 15 staff, all experts in their own field, dealing with everything from court cases. We're a proper training institute, and we provide qualification training to overseas police and United Kingdom police. Just to put things in concept, this is my very first visit to Oman, and I have to say it's a beautiful country. Very impressed with the people, very impressed with the infrastructure that I've seen, the roads and the setup, and particularly seeing what's planned for the future. But the one thing that I have to say is that there has got to be action on the road casualties. They are shocking, and it needs a concerted effort in some of the other areas that are taking place at the moment. I've heard some very encouraging things about what's happening, but there has to be some radical action to reduce road casualties. What I'm going to show you, just to put things in concept, is a few areas around the world, just so you can understand the position of Oman. What you see on the screen at the moment is a classification of average casualties or deaths in countries per million population with high, middle and low income. Now Oman is in a high income bracket, but the average is 87 per million population. And there's a similar thing breaking down the world into different areas. America, in 2011, and these are the figures I want you to focus on, actually killed 102 people per million population. Now I consider that bad. The United Kingdom in 2012 has its lowest casualties on record since 1926. It's been a 25-year journey for us in the United Kingdom, and most of our results have come in the last decade, and that has been through the concerted use of technology. The United Kingdom now sits at 27.82 per million, 1,754 people killed, with a population of 63 million. That is one of the lowest in the world. Australia have done a lot of things in road safety, particularly in the state of Victoria. The current figures for Australia are 55.04 per million, and that's for the figures for 2012. Now this is where it really hits. Oman, as I said, beautiful country, everything is very good here, the roads are excellent, the infrastructure is improving, but 358 per million population. And that is something that has to be tackled. The United Arab Emirates, again, they have tackled and they have moved forward, 78.2 per million population, and I know they've been actively using technologies. It has been projected that unless something is done about casualties worldwide, by the year 2020, another 5 million lives, additional lives, will be lost with the increase in casualties, as we said today. What is enforcement? The basis for traffic law enforcement is good legislation. You must have good legislation. And with good legislation, you will achieve compliance. It depends on the advantages and disadvantages of doing so and their relative value. So in other words, you've got to encourage drivers to comply with legislation. If there's a risk of apprehension, drivers will change and they will change their behaviour. But apprehension has to be robust legislation and enforcement. You'll see on the screen a graph, and I'm sure this is something you've seen many times. The effect of enforcement on traffic speeds and road casualties, it's a direct correlation. In all my life in traffic policing and road safety, and I have nearly 40 years overall experience, there is no question the one thing that makes a difference is police enforcement. Many other things have an impact, like media and education, and I'm going to show you some of the examples of those. They all add value to enforcement. But without the use of technology and enforcement, you will never, ever achieve good casualty reduction. This is a graph that shows what they did in the state of Victoria in Australia. The blue line shows increased enforcement, and the bottom graph shows the correlating reduction in casualties. And it's very, very clear what happens. And whatever country you come from in the world, it's the same. The United Kingdom has the most comprehensive enforcement system in the world. We have cameras everywhere. Motorists have got to like them. They didn't used to. In the United Kingdom, as I said, 1,754 last year for a population of 63 million. Our lowest since 1926. And this is quite an interesting survey that was done. It was a very comprehensive survey carried out by a very eminent transport professor, Richard Alsop, who was charged with looking at independent evidence on the effectiveness of cameras, safety cameras. And we call safety cameras everything from red light cameras to speed cameras. And he concluded, if safety cameras were removed, it would result in an additional 800 lives per year on our UK roads, almost a 50% increase in deaths, which would still make us very low. But I mean, that's a staggering result, and that's solely from the use of safety cameras. Good legislation is critical. If you do nothing else, change your legislation. Make good legislation. You have to have robust laws to deal with speeding motorists. You've got to have a penalty point system where drivers will have their driving licence removed from them if they don't comply. And this has to be for every offence. If you don't do this, driver behaviour will not change. Once you've got good legislation in place, you need to support that with technology to enforce, and rigorously enforce. It needs to then be supported with education. We now have a new programme in the United Kingdom to educate offending drivers. So instead of being prosecuted, they have an option. They can still be prosecuted, or they can go on an education course. They go in a classroom course for 4 hours. And in 2012, we educated in excess of 1 million drivers. And exactly the same year, we had our lowest casualties on record. Many drivers going into the education courses said that they'd done it to avoid penalty points on their licence. But on the exit, about 80% of them said actually they did go in to avoid penalty points, but they actually learnt a lot about the dangers of speeding, and they were very grateful for the opportunity. And that's seen a continuing downtrend in our casualties. These courses happen everywhere over the country. We've got many hundred training centres, all to a national curriculum that is nationally controlled. Safety camera technologies. There are many, many technologies that are in use. Lots of good technologies and lots of bad technologies. The important thing with technology is that you use the right technology to tackle the right problem. I don't represent any manufacturers whatsoever. We're completely independent. As I say, we work with the British Police. But I see many countries buying technologies through salesmen who come along and tell them their technologies are the best. And they may be, but in many cases they're not. This is an example of a handheld laser. Now lasers, I think generally, and most of the manufacturers' lasers are very good, but there's also some poor lasers. But laser technology is certainly the way that I've been advising many countries to go. And I note from our police colleague here that lasers are now being used in Oman, and they do provide very pinpoint accuracy and accurate targeting. The van that you see on the top of the screen is enforcement vans that we use 365 days a year. We have many hundreds of them deployed throughout the United Kingdom roads. And everything we do in the United Kingdom is target driven. We don't just enforce speed. We enforce speed where there is an issue. We target resources, we use data, and we effectively put enforcement checks in place. These vans are used, and they often use laser technology. We have a very large problem with motorcyclists as well, and we have numerous cameras around the vans to capture not only the offending motorist for measuring its speed, but we also have fisheye cameras that will detect the motorcyclists and record the number plates on the motorcycles. And in the bottom right-hand corner is a live offence that happened in 2012 with a motorcyclist travelling at a speed of about 168 kilometres per hour on one wheel throughout traffic on a busy road. And I've got a little video clip that I'm going to show you how effective this type of technology is. As long as it works. Yes. This motorcyclist was prosecuted for a serious offence. This is the fisheye camera on the side of the van that's actually looking at the motorcyclist coming alongside. And you'll see the laser targeting the vehicle in a minute to measure its speed. It's pixelated, I'm afraid, because of the thing, but you can see the motorcyclist, he's actually was on one wheel, weaving in and out of traffic. And I'm afraid the resolution isn't as good as I would have liked you to have seen it. But that is a very good use of technology. I'm going to move on from that, and I hope this works better for some of the other videos that I've got. Another good piece of technology, and I know that it's already been used in the United Arab Emirates, is scanning laser systems. These types of technology are fixed systems, multiple target, can measure at the same time speeds of many vehicles all on the same section of road. Again, very accurate, and it's technologies that is and are robust for speed measurement. One of the things that we're also doing is, particularly with security issues now, we link in all of our automatic number plate recognition systems together with the ANPR automatic number plate recognition systems built into the safety cameras, the speed camera systems, and linking them all together so we maintain a central database and we're looking for criminality at the same time. And it gives us a very good capability to deal with and tackle crime. And we have a very good saying that all criminals are drivers, but not all drivers are criminals. And I think by taking some of the criminal fraternity off the road, we are creating a safer road and environment by removing driving licences from them. Safety camera technologies used red light systems, multiple types of red light system used. We used to traditionally use sensors in the road, inductive loops, piezo sensors. We are finding with particularly the hot and the cold weather, cracks in the road and change in braking sensors. And some of the newer technologies are using non-invasive technology, projected loops onto the road surface that's measuring presence and also speed of vehicles travelling through red lights. Travelling through a red light is an incredibly dangerous event. I can't understand why anyone would deliberately do it. But we do have a lot of technology we now use, and we have approved in the United Kingdom to do that. This, again, let's hope this video worked. This is just shows you the dangers of jumping a red light. And I apologise if any of you have seen this video clip. But the car there on the left-hand side that's stationary is stopped at the red light. And this particular camera system records a video clip of a car going through a red traffic signal. If you watch the pedestrian on the left-hand side, you see the other car stopping. That car hasn't stopped. And before anyone asks, that motorist, or that pedestrian actually, funny enough, did survive that. It was actually in Arizona, that clip, and it is a real live clip. It wasn't staged. And that's great evidence for court and prosecution. I note that there's a big project here in the Gulf on railways. We have a major problem in the United Kingdom with railway crossings, a number of fatalities, and there's probably one of the biggest enforcement projects taking place in the world on railways at the moment. Lots of new technologies being developed, and with an emphasis on completely technology that's not attached to the railway network, not attached to the signals or the barriers, not in any shape or form attached. It's all done through video analytics. There's a radar system that's used to measure presence, and it also does automatic number plate recognition. And we've got 3 different companies that are being sponsored nationally by our Network Rail organising, and I'm managing that project in terms of the approvals for the technology. No electrical connectivity. The old systems used to connect into the traffic signals at the crossing, but with safety on the railways nowadays, and I'm sure it's the same for you, the desire is to have no connectivity whatsoever to the railway systems, and this is all done remotely and visually. And there is there is talk of upgrading anything up to about 1,000 crossings across the UK with technologies once approved. The non-use of seatbelts and the use of mobile phones while driving is something that we have, over many years, proven to be a major causation factor for serious injury and fatalities. We now deploy vehicles like this, all different shapes and sizes, but with extendable masts in them, and they sit in our town centres, and they're zooming in on drivers and the cockpits, and they're looking for drivers either holding mobile phones and driving, or texting, or not wearing seatbelts. And we are prosecuting all of those drivers. It's having a major effect on our collisions and casualties. And drivers are becoming much more compliant with not wearing seatbelts, a lot more compliant with using mobile phones, which of course, certainly in our country, is an offence. And this will show you just a quick image of someone using a mobile phone. Drivers are sent notices and prosecuted for that offence. We use a lot of, to support our enforcement activity, we use quite a lot of media and PR and educational footage to educate drivers. Now, this particular video clip is one that crosses all language barriers. It's only music to it. It shows very graphically and very emotionally about the dangers of not wearing a seatbelt. I've recently shown this in Russia, and the Russians actually want to use this video themselves. Now that video presentation has held high acclaim. It beat all of the contenders on YouTube when it came out, and within a few days more than 1 million viewings of that took place. It won a Prince Michael Road Safety Award for its effect, and it's been a very powerful video, and I know there's quite a few countries in the world are now using that, because it really does touch emotionally. It's a very good one to show in schools as well, to young children. The most effective technology that we've ever used in the United Kingdom is average speed cameras, and we very much have led the world on average speed cameras. We started a long time ago with our systems, with point-to-point systems. They did in the Netherlands as well. But we've developed our average speed cameras. We now have 5 approved systems. We have many hundreds of stretches of our road that have average speed technology. Or the new technology, which is we call distributed average speed cameras. These are cameras that can be put over multiple lengths of road, multiple sections, detect vehicles travelling and changing lanes, entering and exiting highways, particularly effective on longer sections of road, and around towns and smaller areas where there is a consistent speed limit. Now, the way average speed cameras work, for anyone that is not fully aware, If you look from the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a vehicle enter. Each lane has a camera above it, and those distances can be, you know, for our approved systems in the United Kingdom, the minimum is 70 metres, and some systems go up to 20 kilometres. And you can have hundreds of cameras all linked together through a network. You'll see a car enter from the right-hand side. Automatic number plate recognition has occurred. It's changed lanes, and the number plate has been recorded on the exit. All of those systems, the cameras, are all linked with two completely separate timing systems, which check each other. The time stamps are sent back to a server, and that knows what the distance is between the two particular cameras. If it detects that there is a violation of speed, the server calls to the individual cameras and retrieves the video evidence. If there's no speed recorded, the video evidence is not transferred. And that means you don't have very large amounts of transmission data unnecessarily. Now, these have completely calmed speeding and traffic in the United Kingdom. Very, very effective in construction works. In fact, from a police point of view, we will not accept our major highways agency taking a set of roadworks, setting up a set of roadworks without proper enforcement with average speed cameras. They're all funded through effectively through the Department for Transport and through the Highways Agency, and the police operate. They are wonderfully effective and a great saver of lives. One of the other things that we've seen as well with these types of cameras, it's actually calming the whole traffic flow. You're not getting vehicles travelling very fast and braking when they see cameras or police enforcement. They're travelling at a uniform speed. Particularly on some of our congested roads, we're finding we can get a larger volume of vehicles through the same space in a shorter period of time. There's also evidence of lower emissions because the drivers are travelling at a uniform speed. Another enforcement method that we use, and we use commonly in the United Kingdom, and this can be applied to any country, we randomly select and send vehicles to locations for short periods of time, but very, very frequently. And one of the big secrets that we found is to do enforcement very frequently, but you don't have to be there all day. If you do 1 hour or 2 hours every day of the week at a particular spot, motorists will have their behaviour changed, because there is the threat of enforcement, and there's a real threat of enforcement if you get caught. This is what we call layered enforcement. It's also based on data and analysis. We work in partnership with everyone. We work with our highway authorities, we work with the police, we work with the local hospitals. And one of the things that we have always said is that the health service has a huge amount to gain by not having the casualties in the hospitals. And in some cases, the strategic health authorities are actually putting money into a budget to assist with enforcement to reduce the number of people they have coming through the hospitals. We work with fire and rescue, the ambulance services, the first responders. This shows, again, another example of layered enforcement, linking it with communications as well. And this is where our local government and our local politicians come in as well, and they help with